Okay. Well, I have one more little technical question came up to mind now. So you said that the game originally was on C Sharp and now it's on C++. Now, for people like me who don't know the big differences, and I don't want you to go in great detail, but can you give me like maybe 2 or 3, 4 points why C++ will be better for us on this server, and like what's going to do for us? Less lag, better graphics, faster loading. What's the benefits of all that?
So most AAA games use C++ server coding. For example,
Sorry,
Age of
can you
Reckoning is
start
C++
again because you
server
lagged
coding.
out? Can you say the
War
answer
Emu. Oh,
from the
sorry.
beginning? Your microphone lagged out and I didn't hear half of it.
That's okay. Most games, most AAA MMOs use C++ server coding. Age of Reckoning, Mythic's Age of Reckoning used C++ server coding. War Emu, which is what Return of Reckoning uses, is C Sharp. C++ allows for better control of things and doesn't have a garbage collector which lags out the server every now and then. C Sharp is easier to write for. So it has benefits, and it is one of the reasons why War Emu is in C Sharp. But C++ benefits has better stability and performance if you write it correctly. It's harder to write correctly, but once you do it correctly, it's better than C Sharp.
Okay. So when you guys
And that's
gonna?
like the least technical answer I can give.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're trying to do this in terms, people can understand, especially me that I don't have any
Right.
knowledge there. But that's understandable. I got the answer I wanted, and I think people will understand that answer better than going to more technical stuff. But when you guys gonna launch this server, are you guys gonna start like? This is alpha and then alpha 1.1 and alpha forever. You know how the jokes go, or you have a. I don't want to use the term roadmap, but let's say to-do list.
Yeah.
So the game is more.
So I've already pointed to this one when I was answering other questions, right? When I said things like open beta. So we will have an actual fucking launch. We are not going to do early access. We're not going to do eternal alphas. No, it'll be actual alphas, which we've renamed them phases because we have more than 2 phases, right? We're not
Okay.
alpha beta, but like it's actual testing, and then eventually you get to open beta. And then after open beta, everyone's characters are deleted and everyone is basically restarts at level 1, and that's when the game launches. And the game will be considered launched. And then you will get seasonal patches and content update as the game progresses.
All right, so now you said content and patches and stuff. Hold on a second, because I got a couple questions somewhere in this long document of mine to keep my mind in check here. So, content patches, balance patches. So every 4 months of the season ends, we're going to get major balance patches. Small things will happen in between, I suppose. So content patches, what does that entail? You guys have the ability to write your own stuff, make new items, new areas, or you're not going to launch 100% of the game. For example, Land of the Dead, some of the dungeons, some of the other areas, like, I don't know, tier 3, tier 4, and that's going to come later as expansions? Or how's that going to work?
When I say content patches, that is catch-all. So yes, we can make new art assets and put them in the game. Some types of things better than others. Do we have a world builder? I think we do. Or they're working on it. One of the two. Part of the RVR document that I still can't talk about
Okay.
revolves around would be converting things from a more traditional RVR zone into our concept. Every single zone might not be our concept at launch. but we'll have a couple that are our concept. Sorry to be vague. But in terms of the world itself, it will exist. Like you can go into every zone that exists. For example, more PvE would be added past launch, especially if we get someone who really wants to make that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, major balance changes, if there's any to be had, will be done in between seasons. New cosmetics.
Cosmetics, are they going to be events in the game?
Yes.
Christmas, Easter, summer, April, whatever, things like that. Are they going to
Yes.
be PvP or PvE based, or both?
Both.
Both. Will the items that you're going to gain through your hard work in completing those, which I'm assuming they'll have quests and things to do, kill so many people, capture this, will you be able to keep those shit, or is that something like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then goodbye?
So if the event awards cosmetics and stuff like that, you'll be able to keep it. If an event, there is some events that will happen in off season, and it's very specific in off season, that might be silly and like silly short term events that like change the way the game plays. An example of that Void, came with me is like event managers and GMs logging into the game and like being an NPC lord that provides buffs and shit like that. So anything that's weird, like is like a one-off event for fun that happens in the off season when it's not like competitive stuff. Those kinds of silly things will be timed items. So like, say you get an item that lets you. I'm blowing this off the top of my head. I'm not looking at any of the documents. But say you get an item that gives you one of the rune things, right, from the Empire. You get one of the really cool fucking swords that has special effects made by the. Say you get one of those for like a 3-day event or something. That item will have a 3-day timer on it because it's the end of the event. But like normal events and things that reward cosmetics and stuff like that, those will be permanent. Silly stuff that just changes the way the game plays for a couple days in the off season will be timed, right? Because we don't want people having the silly shit later, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know, like a one that makes the enemy into a skeleton or something. That would be just for the event on Halloween, for example. But if you get a pet or a mount or something like that, or a trinket, it stays.
Yes.
Okay. So on this topic as well, do you guys have the capability to return lost items or refund items somebody bought by mistake from a vendor, like double clicked or destroyed an item from something?
They do, but I'm gonna go tell you what both my CMs are gonna tell most people. If it's a mistake you made, the likelihood that we care is very low. If it's a mistake the server coding made or we made, we care a lot. But you're in control of your own actions. So, like, if you buy the wrong color mount, that's on you, not on us.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So, do you have any, I don't know if I'm using the right word in English, provisions for larger inventories? Because, you start getting cosmetics, you start getting different things, potions, I don't know what else people put in the banks. It's always felt that Age of Reckoning had very little space. So the 4 tabs were never enough. In Return of Reckoning, when they implemented the new cities, the Dwarf and the Green Skin, you have a second bank. You guys can give us like 6 tabs, 7 tabs, even if we buy them in-game with gold, of course. But is there something like that in your plans?
Not that I've heard, but as far as I know, that wouldn't be particularly difficult to add if we needed to.
Okay. Now, just a quick question about add-ons here. I know some of the add-ons probably will not work on your server. I know you said you will implement some of them like enemy part of the default game because it's kind of cool. Add-on, everybody uses it. But some other ones might need some skill IDs and things like that. Are you guys going to provide some sort of a document or a guide how to get the IDs to put them on the add-ons we're currently using to make them functional again, or we're going to have to go Google everything up?
So most add-ons that work on Return of Reckoning will work on Interbellum. The only ones that won't are ones that require information that Return of Reckoning's actual server provides them. Those are very rare. So most of your add-ons will work. However, a lot of skill IDs will be different, like what you're referencing, right? Especially since I'm consolidating a lot of this stuff. Yes, we will provide publicly the skill IDs for every single freaking thing that matters. In addition, the most commonly used add-ons like Buffhead and Enemy, we will have already provided a version that has those skill IDs inserted into the version. So you get the public information of all the skill IDs that matter, because it doesn't matter if you have that information. You can't do anything with that information that's bad. And because we want people to be able to have their UI work the way they need it to, because the default UI kind of sucks.
I mean, I'm using Pure to change everything. I have my own modified UI from Yak. So I hope that's going to work, because I really got fond of it. Anyways, right, just probably you won't give me a straight answer on this, but I have to ask the question nevertheless. So do you think in the near future, I will set the time frame myself, so you don't have to, next 3 months, do you think there is a chance that we might get to see some gaming footage, even if it is 10 seconds, or some texturing footage?
There's a chance, yes.
Okay. Because the people really, honestly, really want to see. Is the most common question.
Me, I'm ready for it. Like I said, as soon as Azza gets done with the 1 or 2 things that he needs done left for me to actually go back and start doing it, I'm going to, even if I have to do it with a client that has no art modifications, I will show off some of this stuff. If I get permission from the director of art, I'll show some art modifications too in the video. But yes, I am simply just waiting because the test server is currently down because Azzo's.
All right, but I can tell you, man, I'm waiting as well. I'm sure the listeners are waiting as well.
Trust me, so
we all
am I.
Want, and this is.
So am I.
So you see, I'm trying here. Guys, this is for you listening. This is for you guys listening. I am trying to get some exclusive information here, but as you can see, his lips are tied, so I am trying.
Yeah.
So soon we'll have some footage. Soon.
The second I get on the second I get back on the server, because I didn't take any videos, I have screenshots, right? Which I posted in Interbellum chat. So, like I said, the second that I get on the server and can actually make a fucking video, I'll try to ask art department to see if they'll let me show any of the art modifications. But if they don't, I'll at least show the game design elements, so people can see that, they exist and that we're here and ready to go. I just can't right now because the test server's down. So
okay, we understand. So moving on to another set of questions here a little bit. I want to talk a little bit. Before we go to that one, let me ask something else. Since we're talking about, when footage coming out and this and that, and you're not going to give us an ETA for the launch, because you can't, you're not a bad person. I want to ask something. Is there, not a roadmap, but is there a way so people get an idea, like a to-do list, something like, textures are 50% done or skills 80% done, that you tick off before ready to launch? Is something like that possible? So we know what states, the project is. Like we need another 20% of the textures done, and we need another test on the skills, another this. So we know a list of things that need to be done before the launch, without dates, without pressure, just to know what has been done in a broad spectrum. Because people the people wondering how far are we into, how far is the development, is the textures done, is the skills done, is the abilities working, or things like that. But not a roadmap like this month we're
I,
doing this and that, but you know.
yeah, no.
Tough question, that one, I know.
So probably not. I would have to ask
Okay,
other department leads.
that's fine.
I can tell you that design and development departments are not going to wait for art department um, to push people to testing and stuff like that, because art can be added at any point in time in the game in the future and is
Okay, it's not a
not
priority. The game,
necessary for people's funds.
the graphics of the
Well, it
game is
is for art
okay to
department,
play. No, what I mean is for the
right?
player, the graphics that AR has is fine to start playing. And then on a patch, we can start getting updates on the graphics. It's also a nice bonus. You know what I mean? People are interested in more jumping in and playing because the graphics are acceptable
Right.
as they were. You know what I mean?
So
Okay.
there's that. Um, once Azrael is done with his component, and it is mostly on my department at that point, for some of the stuff, you'll get more information. But until that happens, because I will not put any pressure on my developers at all. So until that happens, I don't mind if it's on me. So until that happens, I can't for
Okay.
at least a good chunk of that. And I don't think Lefsy could give me a percent, because I'm going to go with the fact that every component of the game, like I said, we want to make a live service game. So there's never like a 100% to completion. And like I said, art doesn't matter at all for launch. Like we will
Yeah.
launch without any fucking change of art if I need to. I'm sure he'll be done by then with something. But like we will launch without any freaking changed art if I need to. So
I don't think
certain
anybody's.
things matter and certain things don't.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, a few last questions I have here is going back a little bit to the classes, the mechanics, that kind of topic again. So, all the mechanics we've seen, most of them, not say all of them, but most of them are kind of unique that didn't exist before. I don't know, bleeding, for example, mechanics like that, blast. So where do you guys get all these references? Is it from other games, like mechanics and things in other games that you've seen, the lore itself, or, from the top of your head?
Interbellum sources their ideas from like fucking everything. Like everything. Player ideas in the past, lots of Warhammer lore. I mean, we even took a system from Pokemon, right?
Wait, what system is that?
The stat stage system.
Okay.
So in Age of Reckoning, right, and also Return of Reckoning, unless they magically changed it in the last 5 years. For example, you have like 7 different strength buffs, right?
Yes.
And they don't stack, and it's somewhat confusing for new players that they don't stack. And we originally tried a naming system for that in our previous test. We tried a naming system for that, which gave the information to people, but it was still a lot of different buffs, and it was still somewhat confusing. Even if you understood it, like it was still like bleh. And so the stat staging system is, every instance of a strength buff, right, gives you 1 stack of enhanced strength. So Sigmar's Fist and Consume Strength, even though you couldn't have that on the same side, but Sigmar's Fist and Consume Strength both give you a stack of 1 enhanced strength. So you don't get a buff called Sigmar's Fist. You get a buff called Enhanced Strength. So, and then the Pokemon stat stage system is 0 to +6 and -6. And so anytime you got a stat increase, it went on that list. We went to 5. But so basically, if you get enhanced strength, it goes +1. If you get reduced strength, it goes to 0. That system is straight stolen from Pokemon because it works, and it reduces the number of buffs that players have to get a hold of, and it innately makes sense.
Yeah, it's easier to understand because, like, I've had trouble when it comes to builds because I like making out of the box builds, and then it was 50% plus 25%, but it wasn't 75, it was 62 because there's 25 over the 50%, you know what I mean? An additive system is easier to calculate how much output you're going to have and makes things a lot easier. And I'm assuming that it's less stress to the server when it has one buff, one icon instead of five buffs, five icons, and more calculations to do as well.
You are absolutely correct. That is another reason the stat staging system was implemented, and it was sourced from Pokemon. So I mean, we've pulled.
Sorry, it just came to mind. I don't know if we talked about this on the roundtable or not, but are there going to be procs in Interbellum? What I mean is, on Return of Reckoning, you get a sword or a gun, and this says plus 5% chance to shock target for this, or if you 8% chance to hit, get a shield, and things like that. Will these things exist? Because they seemed on Return of Reckoning at least all these procs to create massive lag. Because you had the entire two warbands, proccing different things from engineers sniping, witch elves popping fast attacks and proccing shields and heals and things like that. Does that exist in Interbellum, the proccing system?
We don't have items that do procs, but there are some passives that have a % chance of doing something. Yes.
Yeah, but at least it's a reduced number of procs. Okay. Final question.
Yeah, so it's you're not getting them from weapons and stuff. An example. Let me see if I can find one.
Let me elaborate a little bit more while you're looking, because you can get a proc from your set bonuses. You could get a proc from your main weapon, a proc from your off weapon, which all three work at the same time. Oh
yeah.
So if all three happen to happen, and then you have 100 players, that is 300 procs that have to be calculated. Icons popped on the screen. In a big battle. So that's what I'm asking, since we're talking about lag and this new system.
Yeah, here's an example. Here's an example from Dwarf Warrior. It's called Clan. Binding Grudge, Firing Attack, Runic Shield, and Skin of Iron have a 25% chance to apply one stack of Enhanced Hardiness to defensive target and yourself. So procs exist, but they're not found on items. So you're very the number you have is a lot less. And actually that 25% chance can go up to 100 because it's 25% per point you spend in Call to Clan. So you can make it not a proc. You can make it happen.
Is the percentages additive on Interbellum? Like you get 5 plus 5 equals 10 and not 5 plus 5 equals 7.5?
Tooltip clarity is extraordinarily important to me as an individual, and you've seen that in every single tooltip that has been publicly released. If something is a multiplicative modifier, so it's not additive, it will be referenced in if you look at the Oathbreaker mechanic, right?
Uh-huh.
When it says that it doesn't say that it reduces your healing received by 75%, right? It says that it let me get the actual word before. You will lose 0.75.
Hold on. Say that again. Ramsey, hold on. You are sounding like a robot at this point. Start again.
Of course I am. It says instead of reducing your healing stat by 75%, it says you will lose 0.75 times your. And that's how you tell that something is multiple. Most things are additive. Very few things are % modifiers in the game.
Okay, that's good. And since we're on the class and percentages and stuff kind of topic at the moment, do you guys consider adding more classes than the current 24 in the game? I'm asking because previously on ROR at some point they wanted to do Beastmasters as a version of Lion with a pet, Paladin as a Marauder for the Order, and stuff like that. No? Okay.
It's currently not even discussed.
I kind of like those straight answers. No, yes, that's it. I like them.
Right. I mean, so the reason is, we've got 72 hard specializations. If we wanted to add something cool that we don't have before, we can just do it on one of the 24 base classes. We got a lot of room to work with there. And at this point, we've been designing and redesigning and reiterating things for 4 years, right? Which is why we've got 22 unique, 22 and a half unique mechanics. And even the one that we straight copied, we have 6 freaking different ways that it's used. So it's just a matter of no one else has really given us an idea that is good enough to use beyond what we already have. If one comes down the line, then maybe, but right now, no. Like we've got more than enough space to work with new additions if we need to.
All right. Ramesses, let me thank you for your time. I've run out of questions. I hope that we covered a little bit of history, present, and future of things to come. And we clarified a few things, and some of the questions from people have been asking whether this is just a document production or not, and where the ideas are coming from, the testing stuff, and some of the technical, launcher installation, C++ and C# differences. People will be a bit curious about this. Also, we touched a little bit on the seasons and everything, so people now have, I think, a better understanding if we didn't clarify in previous releases for them. And I think that's it, unless you want to add something, because I think we're already an hour and a half.
Yep, I don't think I have anything that I currently want to add.
All right, so thank you very much. Let's hope people find this interesting and put their minds at ease.
Yep.